What's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson coming back to you once again, representing GNG Gift and a Gift. Hey, I just want to take the time to personally tell you thank you for giving me your eyes and your ears once again as we get ready to dive deep into some inspiration that I pray will plant like a seed in your mind and assist you in becoming a greater version of yourselves. And if you tuned in the last week, you know that our motto is we are all gifted differently to make a difference. And I know there's a ton of difference makers that's going to be tuning in right now. I can't personally see who exactly is there, but go ahead and drop your comments, like this, share it out, grab you a pen and paper, get ready to be locked and loaded and be fed with some value. And before I introduce my man, Mr. Me Too, I love that name, I'm going to share the mission of GNG, this live stream. And the mission is to provide tips and techniques that young men will be able to take to influence their personal growth. And I challenge them as well as myself. And I also challenge you, difference maker, to become a passionate visionary who is determined to leave a legacy for themselves by adopting unwavering life values and serving others in the area of gifting led by God. So that's the mission that we're on. And if this is the second episode of our summer series of Summer Soldiers, and we have a ton of inspirational guys, talent that's pouring life into our young people. And we are, stuck on this topic of equipping young black men in this country as they're on their journey to overcome injustice. And I got my man, Mr. Me Too. I'm going to read this bio off real quick. Like I said, you guys are in for a treat. Jeermal Mr. Too Sylvester is a motivational teacher, certified youth specialist, adversary advisor, and CEO of Beauty for Ashes Inc. The purpose of his organization is to first empower, then address the needs of youth and adults by providing character building, life skills, and etiquette training to prepare them for a sustainable life. The former professional basketball player has found success beyond sports by teaching others how to succeed despite their current or past experiences with proven principles and steps that allowed the former three-time dropout to push through the noise and complete his college degree after walking away from school 24 years ago. And I'm proud to introduce Mr. Me Too. We are live. We are live, baby. We are live.
Let's go.
Are you ready, champion?
Yes, sir. Let's get it.
Let's get it, man. I love what I just read off. Did I forget anything? Anything you want to add to that?
Man, a lot of times people see the Mr. Me Too and they want to know what that means. And it's no disrespect to the Me Too movement, but I have, my own movement that I've created over the 47 years that I've been on this earth. And I've worked in a lot of various spaces. I've worked in mental health. I worked in nonprofit. I've worked in corrections. And most of the jobs that I've held deal with working with people. And I would find myself in conversations with people and they would be telling me their stories or telling me about their go through. And while I can empathize with them, one thing about me is I'm never going to let you off the hook. And so while they would be sharing their story, I would be like, you know what, guess what? Me too. I grew up without my dad. I grew up in the hood. I've stumbled, I've fallen, but I got up. And, that's the whole meaning behind Mr. Me Too. It's like, hey, it's not so much if I can do it, you can do it. But if you can see someone that comes from the same things that you come from, at least there's some hope and there's some inspiration that you can also, you may not be able to do it the way that I did it, but I can empower you and show you that it can be done.
I love it. I love it. Dropping jewels already. Champion mode. And I love what you said. You learned from your past experiences and now you're reaching back to pull someone else through those trials and tribulations, because I truly believe that each and every one of our stories is our story. It's our story and no one can duplicate that. I truly believe each and every one of us on this planet is fearfully and wonderfully made. I truly believe that, and I love the whole concept of Mr. Me Too. It's very catchy. I told you that right
Yes,
when
sir.
Chip, shout out to Chip if he's watching this episode right now, or playback. You know, when he introduced us, I was like, Mr. Me Too, that's catchy.
Yeah.
I had to learn about this guy, and so far, I know you're a phenomenal individual and changing lives. So obviously, going back to the theme of this, it's equipping young males on their journey through the battlefield of injustice in this country. So you care to share some thoughts on how you feel about what's going on in our country right now?
It's crazy. There's a book, and I'm not sure who's the author, but it's called The Tipping Point. And we've been at the tipping point for quite some time. We can go back in time where we've the Rodney King situation, even back, even further than that in the civil rights movement, where we've had times where we as a people have gotten to a tipping point where, you know what, we were sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we got fed up. And so it tipped over. And I think watching what happened on video in plain sight to what happened to Big George Floyd, it was the tipping point for us as a people. And, I appreciate all of our counterparts who are walking with us arm in arm and fighting for justice. But as a people, man, it's just been crazy to see, what's going on and how that whole thing evolved. But, the reality is it's been going on. It just so happened that got caught, on camera. There's countless and countless of other, people who have died, at the hands of law enforcement unjustly. But hey, that's I don't want to say that's water under the bridge, because it's our right now, and we have to, continue to fight for justice and fight for, equality and, those things that, because we're, people always want to put something on, the skin color and, all of this, man. We human at the end of the day. We
Yes,
bleed just
exactly.
like everybody else bleed. We want a better life for our families. We want a better life for ourselves. The same things that people who don't look like us want. We want those same things. And so, man, at the end of the day, man, don't judge me based on my skin color, man. Judge me on the character and then how I carry myself, on a day-to-day basis.
I love that. I love that, and judging us on our character, because Miles Monroe, man, he said that our character is the container for our gifts and talents, and a lot of times, we forget those things, and a lot of people, they don't look to really seek our character first. It's that first impression, or that one thing that they seen on the internet, or that one incident that they seen on the news, and they build these stories in their minds and get this playback of their image of a specific individual, and in this case, let's say the black male, right? That's the whole conversation, or the main focus right now, and they get their image of what a black male is off of one experience, and each and every black male that they come in contact with, that's how they view it based off of that one tragic event. Right. So again, just having those conversations, I feel like that is ultimately key. Having conversations, really looking at everyone's point of view and having that shine light on that whole dynamic of that.
I think one of the things that we have to do a better job of is we've allowed the media, we've allowed TV, movies, music to create a narrative, and then when we also make bad decisions or bad choices to help fuel the narrative that's been created, everybody is going to look. It's black people that look at other black people in that way. And so we have to do a better job with the power that we have over this space called self. And we have to make sure that every day that we wake up, we're walking out our individual lives and our individual callings according to what God has intended for us, to make sure that narrative isn't what's been painted. You know what I mean? For me, since I was a teenager, I've lived under the premise that I fit the description. You know what I mean? I'm tall, I'm black. At one point in time, I had braids, I have tattoos, I had gold teeth. And so I've always lived under the premise that I fit the description. And so when I'm out and about, when I go in the stores or when it's nighttime and I'm riding around, there's certain things that I will and won't do just because I know that they're looking. There's a certain picture, there's a certain idea in their mind. Like you said, they've already created this image. And if I fit that image, or me and a lot of my other, brothers fit that description, then we got to make sure that if we come into a close proximity of law enforcement, that we got to make sure that there's some other things that are in place that, right, so that if they do pull us over, it doesn't go where they want it to go, because my license is in order. My lights are working. I don't have a gun in the car. I don't have drugs in the car. You know what I mean? You just got to make sure all of your ducks are lined up in a row. And I know that it's not fair, man, but that's just the world that we live in. And, when I go places, or before I go places, I make sure that I do a check. And I'm like, let me make sure that I got everything in order. Let me go to the front of the car to make sure the light's on. Let me go to the back of the car to make sure the lights are working. All of those things. And I know that, that's a lot of work. But for me, man, every time I leave my house, man, my number one job is to make sure that I get back to the crib, period.
Amen. Amen. Most definitely. Most definitely. So you hit on some jewels right there. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful. And this question pops up. So let's take yourself back to your teenage years. You're a teenager right now, but you have the mindset that you have right now.
Right.
What would you have done differently, or to prepare yourself for what's going on right now?
Well, first off is being connected to programs, or being connected to shows like this. When I was growing up, we didn't have this. We didn't have, the social media platform, or we didn't have a lot of people per se that were in the neighborhood providing this type of information, because, man, most of us were living in survival mode, man. And it's hard to raise your head above your situation when you're in survival mode, because, when you're growing up in the hood and you're in survival mode, man, one false move could cost you your life. Right. And so I don't got time to really be trying to peek over here to see what you doing or what they doing, because I got to stay focused on what's going on, man, because I could miss out on the opportunity for some money, or I could miss out on the opportunity for some food, or I could walk into a situation where I could ultimately lose my life. And so I got to make sure that I stay, focused. And I think that that's what ended up happening. And so for me, with what I know right now, if I was talking to young Jeermal, I would definitely say for me, it would watch my tongue, because I know that for a lot of us, we know the law, or we've been taught the law. And when we run into situations where we feel like we're being mistreated, or we feel like, our civil rights, or like, hey, man, that's against the law, what you doing to me? Oftentimes that gets us in trouble, because not all the time, but most of the time, the law enforcement person that we may run into may not be a person who is wearing his badge, or who is doing his job as the professional, or underneath the code that they were sworn into. And so you might be running into somebody who woke up that day saying, you know what, I'm going to cause complete hell for anybody of color that I run into. And so, while you have a right to say, that the law, oftentimes we get ourselves in trouble when we buck up and we express that. And so for me, it would be, just keep your mouth closed. I shared with you the other day when we talked that last week, my mom, we have civil unrest here in Indianapolis, and they tore the city up, and they had a curfew, and I actually stayed at my mom's house later than curfew, because I was waiting on that food to get done.
Yeah, you gotta get that food,
man. And so I left, and it was late, and my mom, kind of jacked me up like, hey, if they pull you over, don't you talk crazy to them. You know what I mean? You just go on and go to jail and do what you're supposed to do, and just deal with it in that way. And I'm thinking like, wow, my mama ain't had to say that to me since I was a teenager, man. And here it is 30 years later, and my mama said it with such conviction, but with so much fear because of what's going on. Like, baby, at the end of the day, she was saying, man, get home. Don't get caught up in, proving that you a man or that you tough or that you know the law or that you're not going to let them, mistreat you. At the end of the day, your job is to get home by any means necessary. And don't get caught up in looking like no punk, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we get caught up in that ego thing and we want to show off or we want to, appear to be tough. And I don't even want to say appear to be. We all, we got a warrior spirit and a warrior, mind that's in us. Innately, that's in us from our ancestors. But it's not, you got to pick and choose when that warrior needs to come out. And oftentimes in those situations, we bring the warrior out, and that typically escalates that situation because they already have this picture painted and they're fearful of us. And so now I have this warrior that I'm already scared of, who's beginning to act and behave like a warrior. And so now I'm going to use the law for me against you now, because now you're acting in a way that's aggressive. And so now I can say, you know what? I was scared. Now I did that. That justifies why I did what I did.
Man, that's deep. That is deep. I'm telling you, he's bringing the heat, Mr. Me Too. And and I love that warrior analogy, and something that's popped in my head that I wanted to share, that inside of me, I was talking with a guy earlier today, there's a lion and a sheep inside of me. And typically, that lion, when you feel mistreated or you feel looked at differently, when you feel like you're in a situation that's not going to turn out well for you, generally that lion wants to come out. That lion wants to defend themselves. Us as men, we don't want to feel inferior. And that lion wants to come out of that cage, but there has to be something put in place to where you're able to keep that lion in the cage and have control of your key and bring that sheep forward in those situations, because at the end of the day, they are authority. They are authority, and you have to protect yourself. Like you said, like your mom said, you have to make it home, because you have to make it home to be able to be a voice and tell that story. Again, going back to even at the beginning, so you can reach back and warn that next individual of what happened to you and what you learned from that. Because if you're in a situation where you lose your life, and not taking any of that lightly of anything that went on, that's something, that has me frustrated, sad, angry. You use that word scared. I'm scared as well. But at the end of the day, how can we keep ourselves from being in those situations the best that we know how, if that makes sense? Because not saying Brother Floyd, wanted himself to be in that situation, but after, looking at that situation, what is a solution or ways that, we can prepare the next man for that? So,
and the reality is, bro, man, sometimes there ain't no way around it. You know what I mean? Like, he was doing what he was supposed to do. He was minding his business, and sometimes people have they have ill intentions, man, and they go throughout their day with those ill intentions, and it's hard to say how I can keep myself from crossing paths with. He was just going to the store. He didn't know that he was going to be out there, or that the guy in the store was going to make the phone call, and how that was just going to turn into this whole debacle. And so, for me, man, and you can't hide yourself in the crib either. And, you
got to live.
I think that's what some people are like, man, I'm scared to even go somewhere. And I'm like, that's messed up that we got to feel like that as a people, especially us as Black males. And so, for me, man, I'm just mindful, man. I don't at night, like I got on a baseball hat right now. When I leave to go to the crib, I'm going to put my baseball hat on the seat. And I'm just gonna ride, I ain't gonna ride, up on my steering wheel, but I'm gonna make sure that, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm gonna make sure that I'm following the speed limit. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna make sure that I do all of the things that I know that I'm supposed to do, so that even if they do this person or this individual, if I come into contact with them, I'm going to allow my sheep to take control, and I'm going to, because my number one goal, even when I'm having interactions with him, is I have to make it home, period. Whatever that looks like, you know, I may get beat up, I may whatever. I just have to make it home. That's my number one job. Even if that's going to jail first, I still have to make it home. That is my ultimate goal, and that's what. If I can impart anything, you know, to the people that are listening, man, is our number one job, man, is to get home. Period.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Killing it. Good advice. Priceless advice. And yeah, that's it. Making it home, because we have families. We have people, you know, who looking up to us, that looking for us to shine a light and help them get to the next level. So making it home, that's beautiful. And let's just say, I know you mentioned people looking. I know we have an audience right now. They're listening. Let's say, I know you kind of partaked on, you know, from the question, you knowing what you knew whenever you was back there. Is there anything else that, let's say, if you had a young person looking right now, a young black man, is there anything else that comes to mind that you would like to share?
I got 10 rules of survival if being stopped by the police. The one is be polite and respectful when stopped by the police. You know, if you can, you know, keep your mouth, you know, closed, or talk at a minimum. You know, if they ask you a question, provide that information. Don't give them, you know, any more than that. Number two is remember, and I've already said it multiple times, you got to get home. You know, number two is get home safely. You know, I know, you know, you may feel like your rights have been violated or what have you, but understand that, you know what I mean? I'm going to comply right now. I'll contest later. You know, you can file your report and you can file your complaint after you get to the crib. Let's get home first. You know, don't try to file your complaint or voice, you know, the violation of your rights at that moment. Let's get to the crib. Number three, don't get into an argument with the police, you know, under any circumstance, because for some, that's what they're waiting to do, because now they can say and they can use that as he was aggressive with me. I'm an authoritative figure, regardless of how I'm carrying myself. You stepped outside of, you know, the realm of authority, and then someone who's not in authority when you begin to get into arguments. And so don't get into an argument. Remember number four, man, anything that you say can be used against you in court. And sometimes in that heated argument, we say things and they can use that against us. And then now it's justified that he did what he did. Number five, keep your hands in plain sight. Oftentimes, you know, we might have had our phone on our lap and it fall down and you try to grab it. Now they're saying that you're reaching for a gun. And so keep your hands in plain sight. One thing that I just learned, I was watching a video that Ricky Smiley did with his son. He told his son to put his wallet up in the visor. Whenever he gets in the car and he's leaving, put the wallet in the visor so that now I don't have to reach in my back pocket. I don't have to do any sudden movement. My hands are up. I can say, officer, I'm reaching for my visor to get my wallet. And so my hands are constantly in plain sight.
I like that.
You know, another thing, don't come into physical contact with them. You know, no sudden movements. You know, keep your distance. Do not run for whatever reason. Even if you feel afraid, don't run, because once again, they can justify. They can say that you're running for this or for that. Don't run. Number 8, even if you feel innocent, don't resist arrest. You know, my mom said, boy, go to jail. And that sounds crazy. Who wants to go to jail? But my mom ultimately was telling me, man, hey, do what you got to do to get your butt home. We can come bind you out. You're going to be all right. Just get wherever they wanted to go. Get home safely. And then number 9, man, don't make any statements about the incident until you're able to meet, you know, with a lawyer or, you know, a public defender. I would rather it be a lawyer. But, you know, I mean, don't make any statements. Don't admit to anything. Don't do any of that, you know. And if you're underage, you know, you make sure that, and you can say this and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't feel like making a statement until my parents are present. And they have to honor that. And then the last one is stay calm and remain in control, you know, and watch what you say. And sometimes that's hard because they, you know, you may be getting manhandled or roughed up, but, you know, ultimately remember thinking about your family and your loved ones and the people who are counting on you to make it home. Allow that to allow your sheep to take over your lion so that you can remain in control. And because once you get out of control, now you give them all the control.
Amen, amen. I love that list. I love that top 10.
Yeah.
Mr. Me Too just gave you guys some gold. I hope you took my advice at the beginning. I told you this man's going to bring the heat. He's going to bring the fire. Hope you got your pen and paper and you took those down. If you didn't, please rewind this bad boy. Take that down because that is key. That is vital. And the main thing that I took out of that, all of it was gold, but make it home. Make it home. Whatever you got to do, make it home to be able to be with your loved ones, to be able to be with your family and be able to share the story and be able to equip the next individual that's going to be in that situation. Hopefully they're not in that situation, but we have to prepare ourselves beforehand. We have to prepare ourselves. So that's goal. And one thing that just popped on my mind, and then I'll be brief with this, but don't be alone if you can help it. You know, have your circle with you. You know, have people around you that's nourishing you, not drowning you, if that makes sense. There that you can hold you accountable and just be a vessel and a witness, if that makes sense. If you feel yourself in that situation. So yeah.
Or one thing too is the phone. You know, we have wireless. So speak whenever you're getting in the car and you feel unrest. Listen, that's God in you. Listen to that. Make that phone call. Make sure that you have someone, or if the police get behind you, make sure that you make that phone call to mom, dad, whoever, you know, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister, whoever, so that phone call can be heard and they can also hear what's being said and what's going on and potentially be recording that as it's going on so that you have someone, you know, as a defendant or a co-defendant to say, hey, he followed the procedure. He did everything that they asked. You know what I mean? And so that way you cover yourself as well, because I think a lot of times that's what ends up happening as well. You're going through that all by yourself and it's you against them. And so you want to make sure that you have someone that can, because oftentimes I've saw where parents have said, let me speak to the officer.
No,
and you know what I mean? And so, and then that conversation is oftentimes a good conversation. It doesn't always go well. Sometimes they may say that I don't want to talk to them, but at least you have, and you let them know that you have someone else on the line who is listening to what's going on. And so that may even curve how they treat you as well, because now it's not just you. You have someone who is listening attentively to what's being said and how you're responding to the questions that are being asked.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And obviously, I know someone that they took something from it, the audience that's listening, GNG, they took a lot from what you shared. But let's say, like, after this, they got more questions. They want to seek your help out. You as a motivational teacher, adversary, advisor, how would they be able to reach you to seek your help?
I can be reached on Instagram at Mr_me_2. That's TOO_Indy. And I'm on LinkedIn at Jeermal Mr. Me Too Sylvester. You can also reach me at Mr. Me Too. And so it would be MMTOOIndy@gmail.com. You can shoot me an email. You can hit me on Instagram, man. You can hit me on LinkedIn. I will be more than willing to assist you in whatever it is that you need, because my sole purpose, now that I figured some things out, and don't hear me saying that I do everything right or I got it all figured out. I don't. But this thing called life, it's an evolution and it's ever evolving. And so I'm a lifelong learner. And so for what I do know, I'm willing to share and I'm willing to impart, and hope, that I can impact someone else's life so that they don't have to make the same mistakes in their life journey as I did. And so I'm always willing and a willing vessel, man, to be able to assist anyone, in that journey. And reach out, hit me up.
And last thing, the question is, I know you was a professional basketball player. Can you still do your thing on the court? Or how's that looking, man?
Hey, I can get out, man. COVID got in the way, man. I was in the gym 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. I would shoot for an hour and I would live for an hour. And my nickname, so my after sports life nickname is Mr. Me Too. But when I was doing my thing, my nickname was Silk.
Silk, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Well, you crossing the moment? Is that what it is?
I could get busy, man. I could get busy with the best of them.
I love it. 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 Thank you so much, Mr. Me Too. You blessed the audience as they viewed in, and like I said, man, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. God has a huge plan for you, brother. He has a huge plan. I know you accomplished so much right now, but there's so much to come because you still got breath in your body. I still got breath in my body. So there's still another individual that you have to empower and help them as far as healing and blessing and inspiring them. I'm just so happy we crossed paths. I'm so happy, and I look forward to building a relationship with you and just continuing to equip each other as we'll equip other people, if that makes sense. So I'm rooting for you. Keep doing what you're doing. The sky's the limit, as you already know, and I know Mr. Me Too, man. He's gonna shock the world for sure with his next thing coming up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, most definitely. And I appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate each and every one of you viewers. Like I said, go ahead and like, share, comment. If you are able to take anything from this, please, please, please share and let me know what you took from it. Let me know what you took from it. Let Mr. Me Too know what you took from it. We humbly appreciate your eyes and your ears. And this is what I want to leave you guys with. I want you to keep those crowns on your hearts because each and every one of us is royalty. And we perform at the level of our belief, not the level of our potential. My mentor, Ronnie Allgood, if he's catching this, he told me that. And we have to work on our belief systems. We have to keep those crowns on our hearts and know that we are God's echo on this platform. Where you're sitting right now, out in the world, out in the community, you are God's echo, and your words can break a spell or they can cast a spell. And we choose to break spells. We choose to equip our generation and the next generation to come. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and thank you. And if you're jumping on this, watch the replay. Powerful for Mr. Me Too, and also last week's episode was epic too, so catch that. But stay up with GNG. More episodes coming soon. Peace.